Hello viewers! If driving a car with a manual transmission, you'll want to know all about the flywheel, which in essence is a big metal disc bolted to one end of the engine. But despite its seemingly simple appearance, this component has a key role in the engine's smooth operation and power delivery. And now, let's find out what it happens if it goes bad. A bad flywheel can cause several issues, some more common or prominent than others. This includes clattering noises on idle and judders when setting off, shifting issues, or even gear slippage accompanied by a burning smell. But let's take a closer look into each of these symptoms. The first thing I'd point out here is the clutch chatter, which is sort of a vibration or judder that happens when releasing the clutch pedal and setting off from a standstill. Besides a worn clutch or bad release bearing, this unpleasant behavior can also be caused by a burnt or misaligned flywheel. Next, if you have a newer car, especially if it's German, it probably has a double mass flywheel, which is a bit more elaborate than a standard single-piece variant. And if it goes bad, you'll probably hear a lot of rattling noises from the transmission while the engine is idling. This can be identified as loud bangs. But what's especially symptomatic here is that the rattle will go away when you press the clutch or while driving in gear. Similar to rattling, a failing dual-mass flywheel can generate vibrations, which would be most noticeable while idling. For instance, you stop at a red light, shift out of gear, release the clutch, and then notice the engine doesn't run as smoothly as it should. Now obviously a whole lot of other things can cause this, but you definitely shouldn't rule out a dual-mass flywheel, provided your car has it. Another thing we can have is gear slippage, which happens when the surface of the flywheel where it meets the clutch is very worn or uneven with scorches and burnt patches. In case you don't know, gear slippage looks like this. You shift into a gear, release the clutch pedal, press the throttle, but then, despite the revs going up, the car doesn't speed up. This is a serious problem and ignoring it will quickly burn the clutch, resulting in expensive repairs. The flywheel has teeth around its outer edge, which make up the starting ring in which the starter motor connects to crank the engine. Over time, these teeth can break, and when the starter tries to engage with them, you'll hear a grinding noise. In most cases, the engine will eventually start after a few tries, but this intermittent problem will worsen the longer you wait to repair it. Even more, misusing the starter in such a way may cause damage to it, adding unnecessary expenses. If the clutch is slipping against the flywheel, you'll notice a strong characteristic burning smell. Sure, this can be caused by improper use, such as not releasing the clutch pedal fully or giving too much throttle when setting off from a standstill. But if you're doing everything right and the smell still appears, there's probably a deeper mechanical problem, with the damaged flywheel being one of the possible causes. While it's unlikely for a broken flywheel to cause shifting issues, it's not impossible. If you're having trouble shifting gears, this might mean the flywheel is extremely warped, usually as a result of another clutch-related problem that's been ignored for a while. The flywheel in every car is located at the side of the engine that meets the transmission. So, not where the serpentine belt is, but the opposite one. But you can see the flywheel just like this because it's completely covered by the transmission's bell housing. In some cars, you might get a glance of its outer portion through an access port or if the starter is out of the way. But when replacing the flywheel, the transmission needs to be removed first. As you may imagine, this isn't a simple job, which is what you need to remember when it comes to the all-important question of money. While the flywheel looks like nothing more than a shiny metal disc, it actually has not one or two, but four important functions. One is to use its weight to keep the engine running, especially at idle or low revs, when there's some time between the cylinders firing. Without the flywheel, the engine would stall as soon as you lift your foot off the throttle. Next, the flywheel's shear mass helps balance the crankshaft and smooth out the power delivery to the transmission, which would otherwise be very bumpy, so to speak. The weight ratio between these two has to match certain specification, which is why it's so crucial to get the vehicle-specific flywheel for your car. Bolting on something that looks similar but not identical will not do the trick, and you may end up with a rough running engine. Another key feature here is the big gear ring running around the flywheel's outer parameter. These are used by the starter motor, which grabs onto them and cranks the engine when you turn the key. Lastly, we have the clutch, which sits directly on the flywheel, from where it transfers the power from the engine to the transmission. This is of course until you press the clutch pedal, as this separates the clutch plate from the flywheel, allowing you to shift gears. So that covers all the functions the flywheel in a car has. But what about those dual mass flywheels that are often mentioned as a source of headaches? What makes them so special? The easiest way to describe them is by imagining two flywheels with a flexible connection in between. One is bolted to the crankshaft, while the other connects to it and it can spring freely to a certain degree. There are also springs between these two discs which control their movement. In comparison to traditional single-piece variants, dual-mass flywheels are far more efficient at dampening the vibrations caused by the engine's operation. In fact, their application is one of the main reasons why modern diesel engines run so smoothly, despite their rough-running nature. In the end, what's left to answer is the cost of replacing the flywheel, which on average could take anywhere between $500 and $2,000, depending on the car and the scope of the work. Obviously, there are two main factors to be considered here: the parts, which besides the flywheel may also involve the whole clutch assembly, and of course the labor. A standard single-piece flywheel typically costs around $100 or even less if you can find a good aftermarket piece. Dual-mass flywheels, which are far more prone to failure, are considerably more expensive, with prices ranging from $500 to well over $1,000 for OEM items. And if the clutch needs to be replaced, this will take another $500 or more out of your pocket. From there, you need to factor in the labor costs. Considering it usually takes about 8 hours to replace a flywheel, you can expect to spend another $400 to $1,500 in labor alone. Of course, if you can replace the flywheel yourself, you can do the job for less than $100 on smaller vehicles and just under $1,000 on some of the more expensive cars out there. Just keep in mind that replacing the vehicle's flywheel isn't the most straightforward job. This is actually a technically complicated task, and you'll need access to a wide variety of tools, including a transmission jack, to get the job done. So while you can save a ton of money by doing it yourself, it's not worth the frustration and potential damages if you don't know what you're doing. So viewers, that would be all about the flywheel, what it does, how to tell if it's bad, and most importantly, how much it will cost to replace it if that's the case. I hope this video was helpful, and if so, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, if you're having other car-related issues, check out the rest of the videos here or visit our site mechanicbase.com for more detailed automotive repair guides. Bye!